Okay, so we're ready to fly. No FPV gear on. Get closer to it and show it. The white thing that you see is a cable to the Bluetooth adapter from Blue Sky RC. That's what I use to set my PID settings with my phone. Otherwise, you have to plug it into the computer every time just to change one setting and try it again and go. Back up. What I do for PID settings is I actually fly it. I know some people tie them up to a chair and do one axis at a time, but I don't care how it flies tied to a chair. I care how it flies out in the open. So we start at the stock setting of 4 on the P. I turn the D gain all the way to 0 and I turn the I gain all the way to 0. What I want to do right now is just dial in my P. 4 may or may not work, so the way I test it is I go ahead and spool it up, bring it into a hover. First thing I check for is vibes. Oscillations will be real high frequency. This doesn't have any. And then I feel the way it moves to the controls. Right now it's real mushy, like it doesn't have any stabilization. It almost feels like I have complete input. So that tells me that my P is too low because it's not fun to fly right now. So I'll just set it down, spool down, and then I take my phone, since I'm connected to Bluetooth, and you might not be able to do this if you don't have it, but I'm going to go ahead and increase it by 0.5. So I'm going to go from 4 to 4.5. Just see how it reacts. See if I overshoot it wildly or if that's fine. Write the parameters. Okay. Spool it back up. Look for oscillations again. No oscillations. And the bird feels much better to fly. Much more stable. So I'll take this opportunity to go ahead and trim it out a little bit. Feels pretty good. Probably go a little bit further on the P setting. But I'm going to take it and just see what it feels like to fly it. See if there's any stuttering. You got to really listen for it. There's no I, so it wants to self-correct and it's kind of hard to fly. The P's not bad, but I could probably increase it a little. So now I'm going to start increasing the P by 0.2, I should say. So since this is almost symmetric, we can do both the roll and the pitch at the same time. So now I'm going to 4.7. Let me see how that feels. Now I'm not looking to overshoot. I just want it to feel nice. I picked up a leaf. Now that feels pretty good, and as you can see, it's fairly stable. It's dropping on me a little bit. You find a nice, happy. Needs a little trim work. But it feels pretty good other than not having any D or I. Seems pretty stable. There's no high speed oscillations. No high frequency, I should say. I'd probably go ahead and bump it up another 0.2. So we're going to 4.9. write those parameters, and go ahead and take it off again. Still no vibing, so let me fly it a little. Seems to fly fine, other than it wanting to self-correct, which sucks. It's hard for me to fly when it self-corrects. I'm not used to it. You really got to push those sticks. .9 is good, so I probably just go 5 and call it a day. Like that. Just throw it up in the air, make sure that doesn't vibe. So I think 5's fine. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some I, because I hate flying without it. I is kind of like the heading hold. P, we want to say, is the resistance to outside force. I is the copter's ability to remain at an angle that it's at. So it's really like a heading hold. Stock is 0.30. I'm going to go to 0.030. I'm going to go to 0.02 to start. Just to make sure I don't get any. These would be low speed oscillations that you would get with too high of an I. Right there. This should make it much easier to fly, because whenever I angle the copter, it's going to want to hold that angle and keep flying instead of instantly wanting to self-correct and then ballooning on you. See, when I push the stick, it kind of maintains that forward angle, and it's much easier to fly. That's actually not bad for me on the eye. I'll have to do some better forward flight. Why don't we walk up here where I have a little bit of room, and we'll see what it flies like. Got a branch in the way. I'll have to be careful of it. But this will kind of give me an idea if it's going to fly good enough or when it self-corrects too much. Daddy likey. That flies really well, actually. So I'm going to leave the 15 on the eye. Now, we get to D. I hate D because it never seems to help me. It just causes problems. They say that a high D gain helps smooth out the vibrations when you come back to center on the stick. It usually just makes everything feel like shit to me. But I'm going to go ahead and put 10 on the on the D. And the higher the D, the less your P is effective. So you can, in theory, what they say is that you can up D and then you can also raise P as well. And it's supposed to make it better. But that's never the case for me. It just makes it fly like shit. So this is with, I think, 10 10D 5P.02i. And I gotta tell you, just line of sight flying feels nice. I honestly would probably keep it here. Uh-oh, so that drop right there when I yaw, that usually tells me that I have too low of a P gain. But I'm at 5. So what I'll do, well, I'll probably fly at FPV, or actually go to a field where I can really fly. But with these settings, it feels fairly nice. About the way I would like to fly. And it doesn't feel bad at all. So I think I'm going to call this good. And your settings may vary. You might have a wildly higher P. You might have a wildly lower P. Pretty much though, if you get below a 4, P value of 4 on a bird this size, you got vibration issues, or flexing issues, you got something, and it's going to fly pretty much like shit. So for me, I want to see what it flies, fast forward flight with FPV, see what the vibrations are like there. That'll tell me what values I really need to adjust. But I mean, it feels good. It's not oscillating, it's not vibing. It's just doing what I want it to. Nice smooth turns. I don't see the front end bucking. I don't see any oscillations whatsoever. Just looks good. So that's the maiden flight and a little bit of PID tuning.
Boy.